You're listening to Loud on the Set with Kyle and James. Faster, more intense. And action!
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Kyle.
This is James.
And today, oh boy, it is time. The time is now. James, what are we doing today?
Star Wars The Force Awakens.
The Force is awakening, along with our guests here. He has a big yawn. We got a big panel of guests.
Big panel.
A round table discussion we are going to have here.
Actually, a rectangle.
A rectangular shaped discussion.
A nerd bonanza coming up.
So we're going to introduce you to some of these folks. Some you might recognize. Some are new here today. So we will start with you on the right of James.
Hi, I'm Josh. I helped out with The Martian, and I am still an executive space nerd.
Good to see you, Josh.
Welcome
Next
back.
up, we've got the amazing Rick here. How you doing, Rick?
Hey everybody, I'm Rick. I am the oldest person here. I was the 8-year-old who saw the original Star Wars.
Excellent.
Very formative experience.
Woo!
So I have many things to say.
Great.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, it's good to meet you, Rick.
Next
Again, we work together with Rick.
And
Who's
hello.
this?
Hello, I am Patrick, and I am the oldest person here, actually.
Oh! Whoa! Now, competition.
I was 9 years old when
Oh.
I saw the first Star Wars movie,
Wow.
which I still refer to as Star Wars, because I was 9, and it was very formative for me as well.
There you go.
Excellent.
So I've got a lot of opinions that date all the way back to 1977.
What is very nice to meet you, Patrick. Thank you for joining us here.
Thanks,
And
Patrick.
Patrick, since Rick works with us here, does a lot of things. You don't work with us.
It's true.
What
I'm
do
a
you
bit
do?
of an interloper here.
God, who let him in here?
I'm a Botan spy.
Yes.
Legit.
Yeah, that's legit.
Check it.
Judges are
We should tell-
checking on this.
tell
We
our
don't
list-
need judges,
tell our
it's a
listeners
Boston,
at
come
home.
on. This is baby days.
Josh brought some encyclopedias with him, so we're good to go here. But what do you do, Patrick?
So what do? I'm a photographer.
Excellent.
I photograph bands, live shows, and lots of trees.
So you know a little bit of something about photographic composition here, so that'll be good when we discuss cinematography.
Art.
An artiste.
Yes. I'm going to go with yes.
Very good. And our final guest,
Wonderful. And who are you?
I'm Andrea, the token female as always.
our number one fan.
Woo! She's
Back
back.
That's not voluntary.
Handmaids. Sounds
Yes,
pretty that way.
you guys have heard me on rom-coms and Rocky. I don't know how that's related.
What?
They both have R's
They're
in
the
them,
same.
They both have R's.
As does Star and Wars.
Yes.
All right.
Excellent. Well, welcome back, Andrea. Welcome, everybody. Patrick, Rick, thank you for joining us today. Josh, welcome back again. We're going to be doing something a little bit special with this podcast because I'm sure all of us could endlessly talk about the new Star Wars movie as well as all the other Star Wars movies. We would be here for eons, probably, epochs of time. So instead, what we're going to do is organize our thoughts a little bit for probably the first time ever.
Yeah.
But we've gone through our intros. We've met everybody here. So let's begin with some opening remarks about the
crawl.
Force. The crawl, as
The
you
crawl.
will. Get sued
Nice
if we
font.
sing any
I
music
approve
here.
of the font.
So we're going to start with some opening remarks, and I'd like to start with Josh, and we will go around the table and hit up your opening remarks, your overall first impressions about Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, everybody's going to have about 1 minute to go through theirs in order to keep some time. So as you approach your minute, if you hear this sound, it means shut the hell up and move on. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm taking a presidential debate thing where that means maybe you should start thinking
Maybe
about
you should
wrapping
start.
it up.
Yes, and then all the lights will be flashing. No, so we'll give you the bell, but you got about a minute to give your overall impressions of The Force Awakens, going into it and coming out of it. So Josh, you go right ahead.
Okay, so I have been prefacing all of my responses to this with I tried very hard to not let the prequels taint my experience. I tried to go in with as open and present a heart as possible. And right when we were talking about that crawl, the trumpets blaring when Star Wars popped on the screen, I think all of us had that surge of just like, oh my god, this is real now. And I gotta say, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a similar story in epic scale to the original ones. Some might say too similar, but when I walked out of that theater, I knew I had seen a real Star Wars movie and one that I would watch again.
Excellent. Josh, you've got 25 seconds left.
Oh my God!
Kill the
Anything else-
time, otherwise
Anything
it's
else
going
you'd
to
like to
born in
say?
a cabin of my father's own there are parts of this movie that, as a shrill astronomer, I definitely raise issue with, but there are many more parts that I walked away as a fan saying, oh my God, I love that.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Josh. We will move on to Rick here. Rick, give us your overall remarks about
Ready.
the movie. Hit it up.
Okay. So, as Patrick and I were saying, this was a formative experience for us seeing the first Star Wars, and I think for me, none of the other movies really kind of had that emotional pull as that first one. Maybe the second one. Maybe Empire Strikes Back. And then there was that string of terrible ones or not as good ones. That was
Unholy
right.
trilogy.
And then this one came out, and I was really just afraid it was gonna suck. And that whole first movie, I was like, just the whole first time I saw it, I was just like, kind of like, please don't suck, please don't suck. And I was like, this is not sucking. This is actually like decent. So I think my bar was low, but that's it. My bar was greatly exceeded because it was so low. By way of background, I'm primarily a Trekker, less a Star Wars.
Get out.
And this brought me back to the Star Wars camp.
Excellent.
So I'll leave
Wonderful.
it there.
Awesome. Patrick, hit us with some remarks.
Yes, indeed. So I actually foolishly went into this movie expecting to be completely blown away and completely in love with it, and luckily I was. I was very pleased with it. I enjoyed the new elements that were added to the Star Wars canon, as well as, and this is controversial for some people, I really enjoyed the cyclical nature of the story. The fact that they recycled a lot of story elements from original Star Wars. It didn't bother me. In fact, I liked it, and I can go into detail as to why.
As
hope
we
you
will.
As
We
I
shall.
I sure hope so.
Excellent. How does this compare to the original viewing experience for you? I'm just curious.
As a 9-year-old at the time, that was, as Rick mentioned earlier, a very formative experience for me. Very formative movie, very formative time. You walk out of that movie when, in 1977, and it's everywhere, and nothing had happened like that before. There was no cultural experience at that time that hit in quite that same way. I can go into further detail later.
Very
We'll
cool,
take a
and
little
we
over time.
shall. Thank you, Patrick. Andrea, give us your opening remarks.
A female Jedi.
What?
Finally.
Crazy.
Finally, I waited my whole life to see a woman holding a lightsaber. Not just like a female android alien.
Josh
thing.
raises his finger.
Not a female alien, but a human female holding a lightsaber. And I love that the main three cast is a man who was born in UK, but his parents from Nigeria. And then we got Poe, who is half Cuban, half Guatemalan, the second Latino in the series.
What?
Yeah. Jimmy Schmitz, who's anyways.
Those
I
movies
think
don't
Latino,
exist.
I think Schmidt.
Schmidt. No, it's
Okay.
Schmitz.
Okay.
Schmitz. I think it's Smith, actually.
Yes.
Anyway, and I guess I can all thank Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, and how majority of their development team is female. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And a female bad guy.
And a female
Hey!
Sort of. She was behind a mask, but yeah.
All right, so I might point out at this point, we haven't hit any big spoilers, but
Oh, yeah.
spoiler alert, this whole podcast is spoiler alert. So hopefully you've seen the movie, because going on from here, we'll probably hit into
Pouring one
a
out for
lot of
Solo.
detail.
Oh.
If
There it
you
is.
haven't seen it,
Yeah.
go see it, and you're a jerk.
You're not
Very
a real
true,
fan if you
very
haven't
true.
seen it.
All right,
No
my opening
gatekeeping.
remarks. Here we go. I too went into this a little bit guarded because as a child, I saw the re-release of the original trilogy in the theaters when I went out. So
My
interest,
condolences.
yes, I still got the viewing experience of seeing them way unaltered. They've been altered slightly, but only slightly. And so I got the original viewing experience, plus some highlighted sounds and things like that. But this has been a very special part of my movie life, pretty much why I became quite the cinephile. And so I went into this very scared and expecting to be disappointed after I'd originally seen the prequels as well. But I came out of it very much enjoying the movie. I don't think there was anything that could have lowered it from an A+ in my mind, though there are some faults with it that I do have. And now, the man who has kept eerily silent the whole time,
Oh, yeah.
James.
Your co-host.
Your opening remarks,
Ready.
please. We shall see some dichotomy.
Okay. Well, I went into the theater hyped, Rick and friends. I wanted to see this multiple times in the theater. I was really looking forward to seeing it in New York and in San Francisco. And about less than halfway through, I thought to myself, nope, this is garbage. Too much of everything. Too much of everything. Too much like the original trilogy. I think that J.J. Abrams sat with a little notepad and rewatched the original 3 movies and just jotted down every little fucking thing that he liked about each one. Said, I'll put that in there. I'll put that in there. Including Porkins, for Christ's sakes. Porkins was in it again.
Yeah.
Too many callbacks. Too many little tips that I had. Too many wise asses with their snappy little lines. Too much action. I could have used more development of these characters you're talking about. Yeah. The plot was flawed as all hell. The overused snitch angle. The junk dealer was a snitch. The pirates, who were completely unnecessary, were snitches. The woman at the cantina was a snitch. The Force wasn't consistent. Rilo can fuck up everything in the world and freeze laser beams, but then he can't handle Finn at the end? Give me a fucking break. The final battle was rushed. The characters were flawed as all hell. Like, Leia was tough to listen to. And there was a Death Star! Oh, I didn't even get all of it in. I had so much more to say. I can't wait to keep talking.
Yes. All
All right. Woo!
So
Round
as
one,
you
Kyle.
can
Round
see,
one.
yes, round 1 accomplished.
Whew.
There is quite the range of opinions here. It seems like most people enjoyed it on some level. Some people...
People who have souls enjoy it.
Oh my God. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Some people
round 2, baby.
incredibly enjoyed it. Some people not as much. So we're going to move into round 2 of our podcast, which is going to be the attack, agree, or rebuttal portion of our podcast that hopefully will not devolve into us throwing things at each other, but may just, in fact, do that. Or maybe one person in particular.
Yeah.
We brought lightsabers.
Yes, there are
That's true.
lightsabers here. In case
There's a way this can be settled.
So I guess we'll just go back and you know what? Let's shift direction here. So we'll start with Andrea. You're going to be our beginning point here. Andrea, you are more than welcome to do one of 3 things during this round. You may A, call somebody out and piggyback on their statement that you agreed with something you really liked about the movie. You can call somebody out and disagree with them and explain why. Or, if you so choose, you could present a new topic as well, since you're the first person.
There you go.
Oh,
So,
that means I get to go
you have
again,
3 choices.
right?
Yeah. We're trying to equal opportunity for everybody
Yes.
around here.
Oh,
It's
I
gonna
didn't,
be.
I didn't, I
We're
didn't-
juggling.
I
So
wasn't
something,
prepared
one of your
for this.
favorite things about it, something that you felt really strongly about after you viewed it. Also, inform us during this point how many times you've seen the film as well as we go around.
I've seen it 4 times.
Okay.
Oh my God.
4 times.
Waste
Is
of
that the
money.
most out of everybody here?
I've only
It's
seen it
definitely the most out of me.
Yeah.
Seeing
Bring
it
the
once.
thunder.
So okay, so 4 times. So give us anything you want to discuss right now. Any points you want to point out, and we'll give you, I don't know, about a
Should've
minute or
coordinated
so to do
strategy
this
before
as well.
this.
I'm not really prepared. I love the score. I thought John Williams did a fantastic job. I love Ray's theme. I can actually listen to the whole thing, and I still start to tear up and cry when I can tell that Han, it's happening right there, and I get emotional. Again, a strong score. What else? Again, I feel like I'm not prepared for this.
Well, I'll jump in. You mentioned the first female Jedi experience
yes.
for you. So how exciting was that to you? Do you think they handled it appropriately? And to call back to another episode, did this pass the Bechdel test?
Oh yeah.
No, it didn't.
No.
It didn't pass the Bechdel test. She didn't talk to another woman.
Maz-
With Maz Kanata.
Not human,
Oh.
but definitely a female.
True.
Who?
All right. Fine.
Maz
Fine.
Cantina.
Fine. It does pass
The big-eyed
Bechdel
goofball.
You're a goofball.
test.
The Yoda wannabe.
Yes.
You're in-
exactly.
Okay.
Did she talk to Leia about anything that wasn't regarding a man at all?
The death of Han, but that could still be regarded as discussing a man. But it was more of mutual
And
loss.
her search for Luke. And does the
It wasn't
Bechdel?
romantic.
I was gonna say, does the Bechdel test have to be about
It
just
actually
a male
It has
person,
to be.
or does
it
that
has to be
about
a
love?
woman in a film, or two women in a film who talk to each other about something other than a man.
Then I'd say it passed.
With
Maz,
Maz.
if Maz counts as a non-human person, then I would definitely say it passes because they discuss her destiny.
They do.
All right.
Excellent.
Ooh.
Cool.
Yeah, I would say on that note, yeah, it was what I've been wanting for so long, and I thought she was incredibly relatable. I also thought that she was the female action lead that I needed the larger male audience to see and not objectify, and also to find relatable and ask proper questions to the masses. And I don't know how fast I can talk or how long I can talk.
I think we're about out of time, so we're gonna move. So we're gonna
Let's
move
stop
on.
there.
Those were
8 minutes.
those were very good
Not for
points.
every person,
Those were
though.
very good points. So we're gonna move on to Patrick, and I might also add during this time, if something comes up that you are very passionate about, you may jump ahead of other people and interject, but that is your turn
Yeah.
for round 2. So just keep that in mind.
Oh,
But
okay.
Patrick, the floor is yours at this moment for
I get
an
the table.
attack, an agreement, or rebuttal.
Indeed. Well, I am actually going to go ahead and agree with Andrea.
Oh, look at that. Excellent
Regarding
choice.
regarding cast diversity, which I think is actually a huge thing in this movie, being not just a very successful action movie, but I think at this time one of the most successful movies in history.
Yeah,
Hands
it's
down in
fair.
North America.
Hmm?
Hands down in North America.
Yeah, hands down in North America, and it has a very diverse cast. Like Andrea said, a black male lead, a woman lead, and kind of a supporting character. I think with Poe Dameron as a Latino. And that differs widely from the original Star Wars movies and from almost every other major action franchise I can think of, and especially having a character passing the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
That's rare. Look for. I mean, I love, for instance, the Marvel Universe movies, but I don't think there's any Bechdel test passing there.
I don't
at
think
all.
so.
No.
We've hit those pretty hard.
Marvel Universe comic or movie only?
Are we
Moving
talking
on.
about the
movie
movie?
podcast,
Cinematic,
man.
cinematic
Movie
universe.
podcast.
Table flipping Josh. Excellent.
Anybody gonna jump in on that one?
Good
Or
point.
anybody want to piggyback on Patrick or
Or shall we
is it turn?
continue?
Shall we continue?
I think continue.
Let's continue.
Rick, you're up, my man.
We're good.
What's up?
So I want to talk about effects, since we haven't really touched as much on it.
Sure.
I think a lot of the egregiousness of the prequels had to do with how the combat scenes, the lightsabers, the battles with blasters, and I think this movie got it right in terms of the sound design and the way they treated the weapons and the battles. The lightsabers felt like they had heft, which is a weird thing to say because they're made of light. But like they felt like weapons, like heavy weapons. Like,
Oh, actually
like,
weighs a fair
they're like
amount.
hitting the hell out of each other with these things like they're big, like clubs,
Mhm.
which is like to me more affecting than like they're swinging them around like martial artists and flipping through the air and doing all this stupid ass CGI shit. Like this is actually like people like fighting.
Are we mainly focusing on tumbling Yoda for that one?
That was
Yeah.
Or
particularly
dancing
Yeah.
Anakin and Obi-Wan just
Yeah.
doing things
exactly.
for the hell of it.
It's like
Yeah.
throwing around. So, and also a lot of the combat was very much like ground based. There wasn't these like giant sky shots where you're seeing like hundreds of people running at each other and shooting and all this
Mhm.
shit. Like it was like you're behind the guy and he's shooting that guy and he's running, he's dodging, and like you're feeling like to me like as a visceral experience, it was really exciting. And I missed that in Star Wars movies, and I liked that in the first movies.
Mhm.
So I think they got that right. The weapons, like the lightsabers sounded dangerous, And when the stormtrooper came back and had the melee weapon, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. Stormtroopers have probably been like, we're trying to get our ass kicked with these lightsabers. I need some.
Somebody make something to do with these lightsabers.
Exactly. I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, I love that little moment. Like, whoever that guy DR-22 was.
TR-8R, I think
Thank
you're
you.
calling him.
Traitor, yes. Very, very good.
Badass.
I am going to use my chance to
Oh,
jump in
I was
here
going to segue.
and skip. And I want to agree
You were
with you
next, too.
about the effects here because as you mentioned as well, the original Star Wars trilogy had so much work and love put into it, labor of love that you could tell on everybody's part, down to the set design, the miniatures, the stop motion animation, which arguably looked better than nearly everything in the early trilogy release. And bringing back those practical effects, shooting most things on a set instead of like the whole thing in front of a green screen, I think brought that soul back to it. Having the unknown leads in that role as well, well, relatively unknown, I should say, leads in those roles, really brought back that mystery, since Star Wars has always been about mysteries since the first shot of the first film. It's been about what's going to happen next, what the mysteries are. And once they started incorporating green screen, it was like, there are no mysteries, because we can put literally and are going to put literally anything on the screen that we want. When it came down to sound design, they were using lots of Foley artistry in this movie, so hand making lots of the sounds that they were using again. I loved that so much. But like you were saying, the weight of everything, the editing in this was so good as well. All the scenes where there was intense combat going on, it wasn't sporadically chopped up into millisecond cuts of everything. You would see a stormtrooper get shot, and he would like fly backwards and land on the ground, and you saw that whole sequence, and they were really careful about having everything be on screen, much in the way that Steven Spielberg shoots a lot of things with big master shots, trying to keep all the action without cutting away from it to confuse you a little bit, which is status quo for the action movie nowadays with the massive, rapid, insane cutting. That if you want a great example of, go watch Mark Forster's directing of Quantum of Solace, one of the most recent Bond films. If you can watch the first 10 minutes without throwing up, then you are a way better person than I am. But anyway, that's going to be my turn. I love the practical effects, as you said as well, Rick. So Josh, now it's your turn.
But
Unless
before
James
I got
is going to interrupt you.
Interrupted. I was going
Hey, I
to
didn't
segue actually
interrupt.
off a very natural point that both of you have made, that the use of lightsabers, the universe feels very different here. And as an expanded universe fanboy, I want to draw attention to the fact that we've mentioned the villain already. This right now is a universe with one practiced Force user. To the best of our knowledge, even like other traditions like the Dathomir have been pretty much chased out. So we've got a guy who built his own jankety-ass lightsaber from a fractured crystal. It barely works. He ostensibly, under Luke's tutelage, might have learned some basics of sword use, but since then has gone unopposed pretty much in this universe. Every time he pulls out a lightsaber, he wins. Hands down. There's no one who can swing against him. Literally, no one else has a lightsaber. As soon as someone else shows up, it's an untrained stormtrooper who maybe has undergone some riot baton stuff. But he's able to hold his own against this guy who's a really deep wannabe Dark Lord of the Sith. As soon as a practiced, or not unpracticed Force user picks up a lightsaber, she not only can hold her own, she's pushing back against him just as hard as he's pushing against her. So she, in the land of the blind, the guy with a cell phone that's hooked up to an ocular implant is king. You don't need much to beat the rest of these guys.
20%.
Updated saying, yeah.
When we look at the prequels, and this is the only time I'm going to mention the goddamn prequels, they have a ton of lightness on their feet. They're flying around. That was an abuse of special effects. It's interesting to rationalize that with these are all Force users at the very top of their game, whereas now we're seeing people who are barely taking their first steps.
Good point.
Ray had some staff usage.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the only two moves she does are a thrust and an overhand block over and over again. She spams them because those are what she knows.
Yeah.
Excellent. And now it has fallen to you, my friend.
Okay, well, I'm going to stick
Attack,
to a
agree, or rebuttal.
I'm going on the attack. I'm gonna go attack
How's
Patrick. Did you know? Did you sense this coming?
Attacking our
I
new
sensed
guest,
a new
Patrick.
person
from that
Well,
side,
it's
too.
not an attack
Oh!
on Patrick. It's an attack on a point he made, right? So I'm not killing the messenger, but the message. But anyway, and that is, Patrick mentioned at the beginning in his opening comments that he kind of liked the recycling of the plot and the loop-de-loop of retelling the same story again. And I'm here to attack that because I got cut off in my opening comment about, let's not forget that there was a third fucking Death Star. A third Death Star. And to me,
Actually, it was a Star Killer base,
Oh, whatever.
retrofitted
to
planet.
me,
But there were 3 Death Stars if you count the operational version in the Maw.
Nice.
oh my God, whose turn is it here?
Actual-
Who's the host? Anyway.
Attack James.
The Empire at that moment, when they released the information or the plans, or they fucking revealed that there was going to be yet another mega weapon a la the Death Star, it to me reduced the Empire to Wile E. Coyote Looney Tune level of buffoonery. And that at that moment, Han, Leia, Chewie, they should have all broken down the fourth wall, looked at the audience, and been like, wah, 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 like a stupid sound effect should have went off, and they should have given like the shrug of the shoulders, like, guess we'll hit the weak spot again, wink. Such
Han Solo
fucking-
kind of does that.
Such
to be fair.
fucking garbage. Yeah, like, and on a similar point, like they were able to build a third Death Star. I found it weird that the good guys were called the Resistance because they won last time, and so the Empire's like in
wrong.
The Empire's in shambles, but when the Resistance shows up at the cantina scene, the Resistance totally kicks their ass. So you think the Resistance has the upper hand in the galaxy and the Republic. Well, but then the bad guys have secretly been working on their buffoonish third Death Star, and they're the bigger threat. And so the who's got the upper hand / who's the underdog here cycled through like 3 times in a 15-minute period that I was like, the original Star Wars, it was clear. The Empire is big and bad, and the Rebels are tiny and full of hope and ambition. This one, the Resistance was like awesome, and they were fucking crack pilots 1 minute, but then there were a bunch of chicken shits the next, and a planet is dying, and the Empire's back on top, all within like the final half hour of the movie. Garbage.
Okay, quick point here. So from
Yes, that felt
from
good.
our discussion, we will validate things from the 6 movies that we had previous plus this one. So any
expanded
any
universe?
expanded universe
I have a big
That
problem with
was-
your expanded
that
universe,
was
buddy.
out
It's got a problem
canoned,
with you.
you can certainly
This
reference.
is-
And I would like to know. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to go back around. Everybody has 30 seconds to give one final.
Doesn't Patrick? Oh no, that's not. Does he get to have a rebuttal for that?
He
I don't know.
agreed with you. But we're gonna
Yeah,
go around
no,
right
yeah,
now,
we'll go
and he
around
will
right
have a chance
now.
to
Yeah.
rebuttal.
I'm confused.
So everybody gets 30 seconds to address anything they want right now. So Andrea, you are first. Go.
Damn it!
30 seconds.
Just yell at James. Just say, "Ah, I hate you."
I've been listening to him yell this at me
That's
for
true.
like a month now. I'm just going to say that.
I broke my pen. I was so mad.
Oh, God.
So mad. Just kidding.
Give her a time.
I'm just gonna talk about Ray again. I know
Okay.
this is I'm almost being
No, that's
forced
okay.
with this, but the reason why she means so much to me is because when I was younger and
No.
Oh!
I did that totally on purpose.
Rick,
Okay,
grab your
when she
lightsaber
was
and
younger,
whack her out,
that
please.
is terrible. You're the token female.
This is a comedy
Interrupting
podcast.
the one woman.
Wow, wow, wow.
Interrupting the one woman.
Hey, you know what?
As I'm trying to
Okay,
talk
when you
about
were
a person-
young, yes, tell me quick.
I idolized all of these adventure characters: Indiana Jones, Han Solo,
Mhm.
Luke Skywalker, etc. And it wasn't until when I was older, that I realized I met so many men who didn't fill that character that I had been idolizing so much. I thought men were like that, and as I got older, I realized like, oh, I have a lot more of these personality traits of these people that I idolized,
There
right?
you go.
And then finally, I realized like, oh, it's because you don't have those characters don't have to be denoted a male gender. They could be anything, and that's why it was so important to me to see Rey in this character, just for little girls to see her, to realize that you could be anything.
Excellent. Very good. Patrick, 30 seconds.
Yes. Okay. So James.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Dun, dun,
Thank you.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun.
I'm in striking distance of the lightsaber here. We do have
You
lightsabers
are.
on the table.
We
here.
do have lightsabers. We do. We are all well armed. The recycling of the plot. I see this in 2 different ways. I see one, it is a bit of a nod and a wink from the filmmakers, writers, filmmaker, whatever, to the audience. Like, hey, this is a reintroduction to the world of Star Wars, to this galaxy, to this universe, and I think there is some degree of we're trying to erase the pain of the prequels by going back to something you do love. But I think also there's something very deliberate happening here where they are retelling the story because the characters within that universe know hints of that story. It is their own mythology. Luke Skywalker is a myth. Han Solo is a legend to these characters. These characters are, to some degree, representations of us actually being able to live in that universe, and then to replay the adventures and the trials that the original characters had. That's them kind of living up to that and trying to live up to that, and for the most part failing. Kylo Ren, for instance, Kylo Ren very much wants to be his grandfather, very much wants to be Darth Vader, and he's a terrible Darth Vader. That's one of the great things about the characters. He can't possibly be Darth Vader. He's just like, he's kind of a whiny kid who throws temper tantrums and destroys computer panels.
Good point. I'm going to cut you off to move on for sake of time.
He's got a terrible lightsaber too, which is great.
Yes, it is great. Excellent.
Yes.
Good. We can discuss that more later. Rick.
Okay, so I don't want to be a unmitigated fanboy, so I'll mention the 4 things that I didn't care for in the movie.
All right, Rick.
General Leia, she didn't do any goddamn generaling. Like, order somebody to do some shit. Don't just, like, look or be weepy. Like, be a leader.
I wish she yelled.
Maz
That would've been
Kanata, not a good Yoda.
nice.
Phasma, you got this freaking amazing actress, Gwendolyn
She'll
Christie,
be
and
back.
you don't use her in this movie? They better bring her out of that trash compactor, or I will be really pissed.
Says the guy wearing the Boba Fett hat, by the way.
And lastly,
Zing!
music.
2 levels.
Music, I really wanted to be moved. It was more of a callback. It didn't move me as much as I wanted it to move. I mean, I appreciated John Williams, but it just didn't do much for me.
All right. Perfect. Josh.
I have like 14 things I want to say. First
Say
off,
them quickly.
shout out to Andrea, sent me an amazing article about talking that when we look at Rey, we are seeing a Jedi. It doesn't matter that she's female, she is awesome. If I saw a little boy pretending to be Rey, that's not a bad thing. She's a badass. It's about freaking time. Secondly, you guys were talking about something really cool that I don't remember, so I'm going to skip it. There was like too many things to talk about. I only got 30 seconds.
Well said.
So, oh god, it's brain
Was it
cube
about
now.
the villain?
Villain.
The
Kylo Ren.
just Darth Vader's?
I got so
wannabe?
many things to say. So
Okay.
I'm going to go back to the storytelling part.
Great.
When we talk about recycling a story, I yelled at James about this earlier. When you read Beowulf, which is one of the classicest pieces of Western literature, compare Beowulf or the saga of Beowulf and Grendel to the saga of Beowulf and Grendel's mother. The stories follow the exact same pacing. These stories, Star Wars is a very easy, fundamental story. Lucas didn't come up with a goddamn idea. If you watch Lensman, if you watch samurai movies, if you watch westerns, they're shot for shot what Star Wars is. He interpreted them well. When we watch this movie, it is a reinterpretation of Star Wars, and I have no issue with that. I see this as a great thing.
Cool.
If I may interject,
Yes.
yeah, Lucas was doing Kurosawa, and Kurosawa was doing American westerns. So we are literally retelling stories across cultures.
And that satisfies such a basic human, like it scratches an itch all of our brains feel. It's totally cathartic. It's wonderful. I have zero issue with it.
All right, James, you're up.
I have issue with it. I'm going to use my seconds here fast. First, Rey. I felt her character was completely underdeveloped. Can you think of a meaningful moment of dialogue that she had?
Absolutely.
To me, she just had a bunch of facial expressions and quirky little holding up pieces of spaceship. And too much action. Her character, she was cheated. And as far as like, oh yeah, having a female Jedi, yeah, I'm very happy about that too. But it's very much a sort of symbolic victory because Harrison Ford was still paid exponentially more to be in this movie than she is. So don't lose track of the real goal here. Like, yay, we have a female Jedi, but glass ceiling still firmly in place because Han Solo, for his like, you know, secondary status in this movie, earned way more fucking money, and the planet is run on the economy, so the males are still very comfortably in the lead. Thank you very much. So I wouldn't celebrate symbolic victories. Go for the real goal. And as far as the retelling of the story, we'll get into this more later, but I disagree with Josh about the whole Beowulf thing because we retell Beowulf and things like that as a brand new startup. Like, this is Star Wars. Star Wars is still going on, and you retold the same story now twice in the same saga. Like, when they remake Superman, the understanding is, okay, that movie that you saw a few years ago doesn't exist. We're completely starting over. But this is a retelling of that same, like, yay, simple narrative that we all love in the same narrative. And so I find that to be very cheap and lazy, actually. I don't find it to be inspiring and cathartic. I find it to be a cheap-ass cash grab.
The
We're
search
gonna
for
get into that
more
more.
money.
Yes, thank you. All right, I'm done.
Throwing some
I'm
shade.
done with that
Okay,
anyway.
my final statements for this involve.
Wait, we're not allowed to talk after this?
No, we're going to do something special. I say that all the time.
Interesting.
Interesting, yes. Again, I think that to some extent everybody's points have been valid so far. Not to be wishy-washy, but I agree exactly with what Josh you were talking about in that these types of stories are the same exact things that we've been telling since the beginning of time, just dressed up differently, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to conclude our first episode here, part 1 of our Star Wars podcast, by saying, over the holiday break, I went back and watched every single Star Wars movie. I watched all of the extended editions of The Lord of the Rings. So I spent a lot of time watching movies.
Jesus.
And, yeah.
When you say every single Star Wars movie, are we also talking like Ewok Adventure?
Christmas
I'm
special,
talking
holiday
about
special.
everything but the holiday special, which I have seen before. So
But
I
all of the
context
Ewok
for it as
movies.
well. No Ewok movies. Sorry, Josh. The 7 canon films that we have, I watched over holiday break, and I watched all the Lord of the Rings films to compare them to another fantasy trilogy, and I left with a surprising epiphany and revelation, which was that I actually enjoyed the prequel trilogy to Star Wars. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude part 1 of our Star Wars podcast. Thank you all so much for being here. We're going to do this again, part 2, which is going to come out very soon. We might even record it right now. Who knows? And that'll be released very soon. So stay tuned. In the meantime, if you haven't seen Star Wars, I apologize for spoiling it for you. If you made it this far, go see it
with you?
immediately. What is wrong with you? Everyone's seen it. It's got more money than our country probably at this
Never
point.
see it again.
So we'll pick up here again. Go watch the movies, get some context, so we can have an educated discussion, and we will be talking at you very soon.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Cash grab murder bear.
And cut.